Fire Dragon Sorcerer was a favorite niche pick of mine throughout Total War Warhammer 2, and I don't know how it's going to be in Domination. I mean, big, expensive Flying Lords are sometimes a little bit weird to try and use in Domination. Today, I'm facing off against Khorne, with, of course, the Warriors of Chaos, Undivided. We've got a Sorcerer Lord of Fire up on the Dragon. He's got Tormentor Sword now, which is just fantastic. Breath Attack, of course, Flaming Sword of Ruin, and Cascading Fire Cloak, as we're likely to fight some demons. Taking a look at the build here, got a couple of Chaos Warriors with Halberds, Undivided, with Spawn of Nurgle and Spawn of Khorne for that extra flaming and poison. Over here, I've got a line of 3 Great Weapon Chaos Warriors, just kind of self-sufficient, a great all-around unit for Khorne here, coming in turn with... Turns coming in, rather, with Skarbrand, Hellforge Host, and Exalted Bloodletters here in the center, Blood Crushers over there, and a couple of Flesh Hounds. Let's take a look at the reserves now. For my Warriors of Chaos reserves, we've got a single Doom Knight, just in case Khorne brought some scary air forces to help protect. Also 2 Mancores, a second Spawn of Khorne to round out my marked units, 4 Marauder Horsemen with Jabs, some Poison Warhounds and regular Warhounds, and 3 regular Marauder Infantry. For Khorne's reserves, he's got a couple of dual weapon warriors, a couple of 3 Bloodletters, in fact, 2 more Fleshhounds, a regular Warhound, a Spawn of Khorne, and 3 Furies. And we're back. Let's get to the full-scale battle. So, Turin going very elite with his initial force here. These Exalted Bloodletters could be a little bit of a problem, but thankfully Flaming Sword of Ruin and the Spawn should trade very cost-effectively into them. Keep in mind that the Khorne Spawn already have flaming attacks. Of course, Frenzy gives them higher weapon strength, not quite as high as their previous 190, but still should be pretty solid. We're going to move the Chaos Warriors with Weapons up and just try and secure these 2 objectives. Not really triple push for now. No real reason to do so. But I'm going to go ahead and try and drop a cheeky Tormentor Sword here. And I also try a Breath Attack, but the angle is completely wrong here. It's going to hit like 2 Bloodletters and, yeah, barely do any HP damage at all. It literally killed 1 single unit model, so, I mean, of course, the angle was not great on that. Definitely would want to side shot an infantry unit from a little bit of a distance to get the best effect, but it's fine. It's fine. It's been a while since I played with the dragon in this type of a situation, so pulling back the Spawn here. Don't want to get too crazy. Want to get a nice engagement with the support of the Halberds. And also these Great Weapon Infantry. Heavy armor on them, of course, 100 armor on Chaos Warriors, so not really too worried about the Flesh Hounds into them. That should be just fine of a trade from me. Do see some Bloodletters coming in there, though, which should trade decently against my Chaos Warriors, so I'm going to bring in a couple of Manticores in response in just a moment. But let's watch as this center engagement gets underway. Skarbrand maneuvers back out of the way, and the Spawn of Khorne just charging each other directly, which is fantastic. Skarbrand then moves in. We're going to utilize that Flaming Sword of Ruin to great effect, though. Pop it here. Gives that nice magic damage, and of course a Kindle Flame Spike to Spawn of Khorne. They go up to 211 total weapon strength with the actual just overall weapon damage buff, and 100% beat down Turin's Spawn of Khorne. What initially had been an unfavorable engagement due to Skarbrand now switches pretty handily. Flaming Sword of Ruin, Cascading Fire Cloak also buff up the melee defense up to 66 melee defense with Cloud of Flies active on those spawns, so they should be able to hold out just fine there against those Exalted Bloodletters. I love the synergy of Lore of Fire with those new spawn variants. It's just so strong. A couple of Feral Manticores also coming over to try and deal with these Bloodletters. So we'll see how that works out in just a minute here. Also, just kind of hanging my dragon up in the air for now. I want to try and use the breath attacks before I commit him into melee, just to try and get as much value from him as I can. I'm also noticing Turin's just got the lone Blood Crusher here, so if we can pull them away, I could perhaps sneak in behind him with some Marauder Horsemen and capture that objective. But, yeah, I got a nice little cheeky charge here from these Bloodletters. Turin's going to come in, and I wasn't sure how well Furies would trade against Chaos Feral Manticores, but we're going to see they actually trade very effectively in just a moment. Let's get back into the center, though. Another Flaming Sword of Ruin going to be popped as the Warriors with Halberds move into combat now, having, you know, the Spawn having beat down most of the Exalted Bloodletters. We now need support against Skarbrand. Hellforge Host actually pulled back. They're going to now recharge back in with their charge bonus, obviously, and get the benefit of that to deal some extra damage, but still looking pretty rough here. Am I going to shoot another breath attack down? I think fairly soon, yes. Another Cascading Fire Cloak there. And a Breath Attack does a lot of friendly damage to those halberds. Probably actually wasn't worth it at the end of the day, but hey, there you go. You win some, you lose some. The Feral Manticore also, it looks like, actually did beat one unit of Furies together, but the other unit of Furies comes in here and actually 1v1 is able to do an alarming amount of damage to this Manticore. I wanted to charge it down onto the ground so it could get support of these warriors, but unfortunately it did get enraged in the air, and look at how bad it's just losing to Khorne Furies, man. Furies are so OP. It's crazy how strong they are, but the outmaneuver situation here didn't quite go according to plan, mostly because my micro is too sloppy to actually pull it off, but eventually we'll be able to pressure that side objective, get through. In the center, unfortunately, Skarbrand is just enough of a presence. He was able to actually win this engagement pretty decisively, despite all the resources and synergy that I put in there. That being said, I've won this side of the battlefield fairly decisively. Manticore and Dragon moving in to help these warriors with their... this is Bellacor's color scheme. I don't know if it actually affects the Undivided Warriors all that much, but fighting tooth and nail here. And the Dragon, of course, helping to support, like I said. Should be able to win those two fights fairly decisively with that monstrous support, but some quick summons in. We've got a secondary spawn of Khorne there, some Marauder Horsemen, Chaos Warhounds, and suddenly these Blood Crushers are just in a nightmare situation. And, of course, with the spawn of Khorne having... flaming attacks, even, you know, if I cast a spell like over here with my Lore of Firecaster, the benefit of Kindle Flame is map-wide, so it's a great synergy to have units with flaming attacks baseline, and it does appear that the spawn of Khorne, actually, there's a bug here where they're not getting their Frenzy, which is kind of hilarious. I'll have to report that to Creative Assembly, but anyway... Interesting to note about Spawn of Khorne in Domination. They don't get their Frenzy when they get resummoned. Definitely an oversight, but anyway, you can see Skarbrand maneuvering over here to try and hold this objective. He kind of senses that things are turning against him here. We managed to outmaneuver finally with those Marauder Horsemen, actually get onto the objective. While Skarbrand's away, the Warriors will play. So the Dragon and Manticore drop down in. We're going to get the Warriors with great weapons also charging. Try and get on this center objective and go for the greedy triple cap. If we can get it done, it would be quite good. Flaming Sword of Ruin once again being dropped. That nice magic fire plus Kindle Flame damage spike lasts for a good, 15-20 seconds, however long Kindle Flame actually lasts for. Oh yeah, 15 seconds of a 40%, and then goes to 20% obviously for the rest of the duration of that effect. And for a non-AP unit like the Feral Manticore here, it actually will have a pretty sizable effect on their non-armor piercing weapon strength as well. So, as we've seen, quite good synergy there. Meanwhile, over here, the Spawn are beating back the Blood Crushers, and we're able to just fully overpower and start to capture this side objective. Now, here, I see that Skarbrand's fairly low, and these two monsters, for myself, are fairly high health. And although this warrior great weapon is not trading the best against the warriors with Khorne, I figured, whoop, big old lag spike there, I figured I could get in here and 2v1 finish off Skarbrand with the Manticore and the Fire Sorcerer. We're going to pop some buffs here in just a minute to help finish that off, but we'll keep the health bars up, mostly because with the support of the Furies, they're getting some big attacks, and look at that huge hit on the Manticore from Skarbrand. Yeah, I mean, Skarbrand's pretty well charged up. He's got 70 kills already, well over 100 weapon strength with all of his buffs popped. Really only takes a couple of hits to rout the Manticore. And then, of course, the Dragon Sorcerer as well at this point is completely screwed. There's no way for me to get away because of how slow dragons are on the ground. Also get the Rage-Embodied Rampage from Skarbrand, so thankfully I was able to get Cascading Fire Cloak and Flaming Sword of Ruin both off beforehand. I'm up to 69 melee defense, pretty good weapon strength, but still no match for Skarbrand. Only 45 defense, or 50 defense on him, versus 46 attack baseline on the Dragon, so it's not like I can even make that great of contact. And Skarbrand ends up just horribly, horribly killing my Dragon Sorcerer. And that is going to break my morale and spirit, and I'm going to throw in the towel, even though, I mean, value-wise, I maybe could have still pulled this back and won. There's not really a lot I have that can fight Skarbrand, but yeah, I'm going to throw in the towel there, even though I probably should have kept fighting, maybe could have pulled out the win there, but just losing out on that much value without him. I mean, he costs close to 3,000, like 2,500 at least. Not getting any value back is pretty poor. That's the one risk of big, expensive flying lords like that are fairly squishy. I mean, I knew it was a risk bringing him against Khorne, but I took him mostly for the fun. And I do think that there's some very good synergy potential there. Perhaps if I had played a little bit smarter, well, definitely if I had played smarter, instead of taking that engagement with Skarbrand, just leave the center objective and keep pressuring the side objectives, I was actually in a pretty good position in terms of value. A little bit ahead on value, and also getting to the place where I could pull ahead on tickets until I took that greedy engagement. So definitely a huge mistake by me, but hey, sometimes you got to test things out and see how they go. Sometimes you need to get face rolled by Skarbrand just to figure out that that is in fact what will happen. I mean, typically 2v1 single entity engagements, the 2 will beat the 1, but there's some caveats to that. Obviously, if one of them is 1,000 weapon strength, super angry Skarbrand, then it might not go as you would expect. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that, learned something from it like I did. Overall, Warriors of Chaos seem very solid in Domination, though. I mean, of course, mid-tier infantry is kind of the key right now, at least with the current balance of capture weight and everything. So great mid-tier infantry is kind of the name of the game for Warriors of Chaos, meaning they'll be a great faction in Domination even without the new stuff. I don't think the new stuff is going to necessarily make them like insanely overpowered. Definitely will make them strong. Didn't get a chance to use any of these Doom Knights. The Manticores also a little bit underwhelming, all things considered, but definitely looking forward to playing this matchup more in the future when I have access to more of the DLC stuff from Warriors of Chaos, some of the new RORs, or like some of the new marked units, maybe some Warriors of Nurgle or stuff like that. Anyway, that's all for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.